Go, Nancy. You ready?
Yes.
All right.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm really ready. I'm Nancy Richey. We're both from Western Kentucky University. Proud to be here. A little slow coming this morning, but we made it. So I am I forget what my title is now. With budget cuts, it's changing all the time. I think right now I'm special formats librarian, which I'm not sure what that means. But I'm a librarian who works in special collections, and my friend and colleague Todd can tell you about himself.
And my name's Todd, and I am currently the Open Educational Resource Librarian. And previous to that, for almost a decade, I managed WKU's digital repository. Does anybody have a digital repository here? Kennesaw State, I know, as BPres because I went to a training 15 years ago with somebody from there. Do people have BPres, DSpace? BPres?
Actually, I know I'm for it, but I don't know about it.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Somewhat of a contentious debate about repositories. But as you can see, we're talking about the same song, second verse, finding a new purpose for a digital repository. So welcome to the presentation. And simply put, as many of you probably know, being a librarian, a repository is just a place where we collect online resources, right? And there are disciplinary repositories like NOAA's database on weather information and NASA's on space technology data. Well, our institutional repository is TopSCHOLAR, and it's a collection of our institutional specific resources from staff, students, faculty, and more recently, increasing numbers of our special collections. So officially, our publishing platform provides open access to the scholarly works of everybody at Western, and it ensures that that intellectual output of WKU is archived and shared worldwide. And for years, of course, our intent was to try to get scholars and staff and faculty who wrote to put their items on our repository, but that was never really embraced by faculty, especially at an institution of our size, a regional. They do a lot of teaching at our university. So we don't have a lot of faculty publications, and we still upload theses and dissertations, which is great. It's very good for the student side, but the faculty submissions are very rare now. So over this 17 years of us having a repository, we've changed the focus and transitioned a little bit, especially with some great people over in our special collections. We're starting to put more items from there up. And since COVID specifically, we've become more serious in considering how to specifically repurpose what we have and get our money's worth from our repository by extending our collections of those special items.
As you all will be well aware of the holdings of a special collections, these are just a sample of what many special collections have and what we have. The collection started in 1939. The president of the university wished to have a central location where in South Central Kentucky, where students and the professors at the college could see Kentucky history. So we became a library within the Kentucky Museum, which started in 39. And so it was a part of that Kentucky Museum building for a long time. We have moved recently, and we took our collections with us. So this is just a little breakdown of the type of items that are in special collections. And outside of Frankfort, Kentucky, this collection, this genealogical collection, is the largest in the state. So it's been contributed to by many, many people since 1939. But whether the administration likes it or not, the genealogical collection has sort of become like the old movie The Blob, a sci-fi movie. It's sort of taken over, and it's definitely taken over TopSCHOLAR. And so just a sample there of of the holdings that may not be traditional to many special collections libraries, but certainly for us. And I love genealogy. I love family history. There's some wonderful programs like Who Do You Think You Are? And then Henry Gates, the PBS show, look, Finding Your Roots. So those type of programs have really brought interest in genealogy and so thus using our collections. And so as we begin to get more and more requests, particularly during COVID, as lots of transition for all of us, our former department chair noticed that he felt that he could use the resources of the depository to make available digitized collections, particularly in the genealogy, because as again, it may not seem like something geared to students, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the administration may not see that as valuable, but it's very valuable. And so because of TopSCHOLAR now, we are able to reach not only students, but the wider community. And so our department chair saw that as a way to repurpose it and then to use something that we already had and to make a wider, different use of that.
All right. So the power of a repository. Does anybody here manage their repository or have a hand in it? Okay. So when we go to the backside of Repurpose, you'll be familiar with the dashboard and the pin map and things like that. But it really does offer a benefit to sharing these kinds of resources online. It offers tools that help us store, share, and evaluate, maybe most importantly, evaluate our collections. Dealing with a system like bpress allows for scalability, support, and security because they manage the program. They take care of it for us, and they back it up daily, and they do routine maintenance. We don't have to worry about any of the managerial parts of the hardware and the program. They give us unlimited storage. They run security updates, and they provide a personal contact that can help us do things that we don't know how to do. Or pretty much anytime I've ever come up with an idea that I thought would be interesting, as long as it has to do with presenting PDFs and a little bit with images, they find a way to do it. As many of you know, repositories aren't the best way to share some information, but they work really well for sharing these specific paper resources that we want to share. So the repository itself also helps with discoverability because it optimizes search. So we all know that being online is being a little speck in the middle of this huge ocean. And you never know what's going to pop up. Well, I know that for sure, the first thing that's going to pop up on every Google search now is an AI response, right? But other than that, bpress allows for the discoverability of our content because we can add metadata to our records, GPS locations, keywords, abstracts, dates, and they create tags within the item for indexing in Google and Google Scholar. So each item has that secure permanent URL that will never go away, and anybody that's managed the repository has definitely made a URL that they wanted to have go away, and that's when you contact your person, they can usually help you out. And then finally, analytics is something that Nancy and I kind of looked into a lot when we were dealing with these collections of what to choose to put up and how those decisions we made have been accepted. We can get a lot of data about our collections that can help us decide where to put our very limited time and resources in making inclusions to our repository. I'll share some images and different visual representation of usage. So like the download map, which everybody knows. So we'll look at our repository just a little bit more closely now. And I'm going to go to the internet. There it is. So our repository is TopSCHOLAR. And The front page hasn't been updated in a while. You know, BPress has come a little bit of ways with presentation, but a lot of arguments and discussions we get into is how are items accessed and discovered on our platform? And it is very rarely from this page, to be honest. Most people are sent here from a Google search directly to the item they want. So spending a lot of time and energy reimagining this hasn't been our focus. But one thing we like to talk about before I go freewheeling here is the tiered structure of BPress, which is really nice for us. Choose colleges and departments. Within that, we at the libraries have our very own special collection. There's our commons. And then within that, we have the special collections. And still within that, but nobody is likely to get there this way. You would arrive at one of our collections that features genealogical items. So we can look at our manuscripts, genealogical records, and let's see. Let's go right here, research collections. This also includes some items of census information, maps. So this is where all of our genealogical collections exist. So next we're going to talk about some of those resources that we had the slide of that Nancy pointed out and how they exist in our, let's see. Hey, there we go.
Some of the, taking a closer look at some of those collections and what we chose. When Todd was showing the pin drop and things, the marriage bonds were always in the top 10 of downloads. They got kicked out by a paper talking about how to deal with cell phones in the classroom. So you can imagine how current that is. But so marriage bonds and the history behind those bonds were our courthouse. Some of the ladies got a idea about, well, it's time to clean out all this old stuff, and they threw them in the trash can. And then some lovely dear old DAR ladies went and rescued them from the trash can and gave them to us in the 70s. So, you know, they all have a history, but thankfully they were saved, and naturally they are the original bonds. And then some genealogical collections, and then the genealogical newsletters, which are used. When Todd was letting the pin drop, that was one of the collections that was just immediately pops up along with
I didn't do that very well.
Marriage bond. Well, we'll just take a look.
So some of you are familiar with the map, and the map will cache a number of discoveries. But so in the past day, 555 people have accessed an item from our special collections. And let's see, and it tells you above here, somebody's looking at the homecoming list from our archives. Look at it. Oh, those are very interesting comics. So sometimes the previous dean would like to just watch the pins drop, and that justified having our repository. But now we've found new ways to make it worthwhile.
We'll say former dean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So among those genealogical collections also, of course, are our family Bibles and census records, family histories, all of those typical type of items that we've tried to digitize and make use of, or more use of, to a wider audience. And so we'll take a look then, Todd, then at the marriage records. So naturally, the manuscripts folks created a finding aid, a paper finding aid, because that would be the only way that you could find these collections. But this finding aid And that was his idea was at least to put the finding aids, make those digital. And then they've gone beyond that even because now they've digitized those marriage bonds. And we have them, this one is just 1797 to 1800, but they're actually from 1797 to 1984 and over 8,000 items. Marriage bonds are fun because just like any other genealogical item, they can tell family secrets. One of the marriage bonds might say, yes, I give permission for my daughter Jane to marry Tom, but I will never speak to her again. So, there's interesting things along with the marriage bonds. So it is one of our most accessed collections. I think 40,000 downloads in the time it's been put up. It, as I said, used to be number 10 in downloads. Now it's dropped down to 11 because of the cell phone article. It has it'll pop up then. As you dive deeper into them, you will actually get a digitized copy of the marriage bond. It might starting at 1797. So as people are applying for membership in certain organizations, they have to prove that, of course, through vital records. And so these marriage bonds are not only useful for genealogy, but as I said, they're a fascinating study of society at that time. And so before TopSCHOLAR, and you all may wonder why are we calling it TopSCHOLAR, everything at Western is top because we are the hilltoppers. So everything is TopNet or TopSCHOLAR. So that's where that idea, we were really clever on TopSCHOLAR, but that's where that idea is coming from. So before we were able to showcase them in this way, you had to call the library, you had to come to the library, and you would have to go through the librarian to find these items. So this opened a whole world of accessibility for these wonderful items. And then another collection that you would think, well, that's nice, but again, this is one that gets some of the most use that we have through this collection. I don't know if Todd did.
Yeah, it's in there.
Statistics on
200,000 downloads in just the last 6 years.
Yes.
They've only been up 6 years. So
these are publications of local genealogical societies. So the Long Hunter is Bowling Green, Warren County. You can see, of course, the Heritage is Muhlenberg, and then Traces is Barron County. And these are very, very well done. And they contain information that the society members have written about that location, not only genealogy, but history of that community. And many times it will be the only information that's available. The records that if that information has taken from may have been destroyed or lost. The organizations, sadly, like many societies, they're no longer, the older members have died out. Younger people are not interested in belonging to that, or it used to be, of course, the only way to share information. So the societies are gone, but they gave us permission and copyright to digitize these items for wider usage. The Long Hunter there, as I mentioned, Bowling Green, Southern Kentucky, published from 78 to 2016, uploaded in 2018, no longer being produced, but still widely used. Everything is keyword searchable. So if you're interested in the Smith family, you just put that in the search box, and anything about the Smith family that will pop up for you. The Muhlenberg County was uploaded in 2020 and already ceased. It has ceased publication, but getting some wide use in that way. And then the Traces, as I mentioned, from Barron County. It started in 73, ceased in 2016, and we have uploaded all 195 issues. The three collections there contain a total of 433 items. It was labor intensive to cut the originals up, make them where we could scan them, but they've been downloaded, as Todd said, over 20,000 times. And if you watch the pin drop enough, they will definitely pop up.
Yep.
And they are very useful, as I said, not just for genealogical information, but local history and even how that county played a role in state history and then playing a role then in national history. So they're very, very helpful and useful in many, many ways.
Yeah, I spent an hour while digitizing these, actually reading the articles because I'm not from Kentucky and I live in Bowling Green. So I learned a lot about the neighborhoods I've lived in Bowling Green. It's kind of fascinating reading these. It's not like reading a family tree. There's all kinds of really interesting historical information. Oh, here we are. How many, who, and where? So this is the dashboard. Before you saw the pin drop map, which is on the patron facing side, and the dashboard is on the admin side. So I'm gonna go up here and go to the dashboard. Maybe. So I'm going to try to pick the special collections. We've had over 700,000 or 700 downloads from our genealogical collections. There's about 2 million from our special collections. And they all are filterable here. Anybody that's familiar with the B-Press knows you can go in the back and filter out your results. We're going to look at a few different ways to get data to help make decisions. We'll just look at the whole special collections. There are filters for, I have it set to show me all time usage now. You can set specific parameters for that. But you can see by this that our special collections have been downloaded all over the world. There's always concern about bots, right? Which BPress does a pretty good job, I think, about giving you reasonable statistics, but there's always questions. So I appreciate the efforts they go into making sure that our numbers are pretty accurate. So it's been accessed all over the world, and it can also tell us what kinds of places are interested in our information, which is kind of important for this. So if we scroll down, we can see what kind of institutions have looked at our collections. Well, no surprise, Western Kentucky University has accessed more records in special collections than anywhere else. But the Kentucky Department of Education is number 2. Bowling Green Municipalities, our local power company, accesses it. So most of the times it's educational institutions, but there are commercial groups like utilities, and there are governmental groups. Look at that, Purdue University, Glasgow Electric Plant. It's sometimes interesting to wonder what are they looking at, right? And then finding things like, I'm not sure what UAB Starnita is, but I'll have to look that up later. University of Alabama Regional? No?
It's not a.
Okay.
I've seen it in our results too. They put a lot of dollars.
Oh, interesting.
I think it is.
Harvesting. All right. So finally, though, of course, most of our downloads do come from the United States and Kentucky. They've been accessed from every country in the world. And because of this overwhelming interest, we've decided that we are intent to grow our collection. And really, the only thing that will stop us adding more genealogical items because of their success is the amount of time that we can, as many places go, we have very few students to help us anymore. It's quite labor intensive. And now since COVID, we've had fewer and fewer local volunteers as well. And we moved locations which has no parking, which also makes it very difficult for the volunteers who used to really appreciate being able to park right next to us and walk in. We will exit the dashboard.
You all are figuring out the answer to that question, how and why are we sharing these resources in the first place? It has been a wonderful, in a sense, of repurposing that institutional resource. It meets genealogical needs, but it meets other needs because we're always having to think, I'm always being told everything you do has to be geared towards student success. So we try to think of that along the way. I was telling Todd this morning, we had a class, it's a public history class or archaeology class that was using genealogical resources. They were trying to map out a traditionally African-American cemetery in Allen County, Kentucky, and they had to use these resources to figure out who was buried there and then give them a life story. And so I always, I guess I'm a little defensive at the administration because they wonder about the value of these collections, but they're very, very valuable. And they're used in many ways other than family history. And so we do have to align it to fit the university mission. And these are almost verbatim from the university mission. So we are trying to provide lifelong learning opportunities and then a holistic learning experience through using this as a technological innovation, outreach on all levels. We are a town and gown school. And so we're very tied to the community, and I hope that they will continue to realize that. It makes a big difference if you can get the community involved. It's designed to expand knowledge. It's always doing that. We use it to improve instruction. Using primary resources, all of these, it increases learning. Students are more excited about looking at some of the original resources and learning about their own family or their place in society. And it helps us then, of course, providing these applied solutions. And these quotes simply give you an idea of why it's important and why it is good that we have been able to repurpose it in this way. If you don't know history, you don't know anything. You are a leaf that doesn't even know that it was part of a tree. And then genealogy, history, it of course allows us to discover the stories of our ancestors that come alive through the documents and the records that can be found. I always like to tell the students about if you had really nice, good, upstanding relatives, you probably won't find any resources about them or records. But I had a grandfather who was thrown out of church for dancing and profanity. And I found that, so you can hope you have some scoundrels in your, that's who you're going to find some good stuff about. My great-great-grandfather killed his father-in-law. I found lots of records about him. So, I can learn about them, and they do come back alive through the documents. And then, of course, Daniel Webster, those who do not look upon themselves as a link connecting the past to the future do not perform their duty to the world. And I would say that they cannot. So we all are a result of our ancestors. And again, always, we have to be thinking of meeting not only university goals, but library goals. It's always student and faculty success. And I'm understanding that they're hitting me with a brick, but I'm also a big advocate of community access and what that means. I know that our goal is to equip the students and the faculty with all kinds of knowledge and resources that are necessary for academic success, but I believe that these are part of that. But I also want to provide the community with access because this is a state-supported school, and these resources belong to everyone. And we hope by using this repository that we do increase knowledge, understanding, creativity, and innovation. And we match in those library goals to the institutional goals, highlights our continuing relevance to the university, which you always have to say, yes, the library's here and we are worth something. Todd and I were talking this morning about our library has gone from over 100 folks down to 37. So we're always waving, saying, yes, we're here and we are important. And being a part of the community, I think helps us be a part of letting them see that there are stakeholders outside the university that will be interested in what we're doing.
So meeting the institutional goals. Special collections have always been a great place for the local community to come and find out about their history. And they would visit the reading room and look at the resources, and Nancy would go back and get things. They would rediscover and uncover their past while they were constructing their own genealogies. Well, having things on a repository has obvious advantages that we've talked about already. It increases access to that rare information, and it improves efficiency of library operations, and it enhances and improves research opportunities. So this new approach to sharing these genealogical and other special collections resources has helped us meet some specific institutional goals. In 2018, Western Kentucky outlined their new strategic plan, including ways to connect with the community. We were planning for this. We knew it was coming. Especially alumni connections are really important, right? For the university. So we at the libraries identified two specific elements from this plan that we thought we could address through this undertaking. And that was seeking to establish WKU as a regional lighthouse to provide resources, attract talent, and nurture intellectual capital in the community specifically. So we're providing those resources to our community and improving the quality of life by providing opportunities for people of the region to be educated, entertained, assisted, and inspired. Hopefully these collections have them make connections that are inspiring in their life. So we believe that digitizing these, we're really helping us meet our institutional goals.
Okay. So not only are we the Hilltoppers, which many have not heard of, but our iconic mascot, Meet Big Red. And that's simply what he is. He's a big red blob. Have you all heard of Big Red before today? See?
Some people have. Yeah.
So, as a genealogist, I'm not sure of his genealogy, but he definitely is the iconic face of Western. I would do his genealogy, but I don't know what category to look in. I wouldn't even know where to begin. And so just a sample of response to these collections. Of course, students want everything digitized. It's so funny when they come in and they still have to look at microfilm or something. And it's like, you mean this hasn't been transcribed and I can't download it?
Oh, and if it's written in,
oh yes,
if it's written in cursive, then you're in big trouble.
Yes, I had a student who wanted, from the English department, wanted to do an internship with me, which is fine, wonderful. But I wanted her to look at Victorian Valentines. She couldn't read cursive. So I don't know how much time I spent teaching, you know, you can't do that in 2 hours.
Nope.
But she was able to get through them and learn finally how the letters were connected. But I always ask the classes, are you being taught cursive now? And it's coming back in some places. And we all know cursive writing is more than letters on a page. You're fixing your brain too. But the responses that we get from students because of the digitized material, and then the other patrons that can no longer come in the library or live in England or Australia, but I live in Colorado, can't come to your library, but by having the material online, I was able to finally get that last piece of the genealogical puzzle.
And I sit at the reference desk quite frequently in the regular, I'm a public service librarian now. And at least half of the questions that we get in our chat are about holdings that are in the special collections.
And the discoverability that Todd talks about, we are many times the only holding for a certain family history book or a certain document or record. And then they'll say, how can I get a copy of this? And you're the only holding library in the world. So they are being discovered. They're sometimes the very first thing that pops up in Google.
Yep. Same song, second verse. The benefits of digital sharing. It's on a page. All right. So we were so happy that we found a way to repurpose the repository because I was a little sad about the excitement over the repository. So finding a way that was meaningful to use it was very important to me specifically, but also that it supported the mission of the library and institution was great. So we identified some benefits, of course, savings, right? We save in labor. You only have to digitize it once and it's available through keyword search. You don't have to go and get that clippings file every time somebody comes in and wants it. It saves funds. Likewise, we're able to save money because we only perform the task once. It saves space. Some of these things can be put away, especially things that are rare that we don't want to be out in the light. We put them away. They're safe. They can all be accessed online. And the final point is the document wear and tear. Some of these are so rare and special. It's actually better if we just expose them one time to the photocopier and then not have to let anybody interact with them. So the power of the repository is that it enables the accessibility of these collections. It means that people who have roots in Kentucky or are just interested in the history of Kentucky, who are anywhere in the world can look at it at any time and find what they want. An added bonus is that it allows for potential collaboration between people like the folks that had this genealogical newsletters knew that we had items like that in our collection, so they donated them to us. And finally, we've used the repository to reach stakeholders who support, like I said before, alumni who are willing to support the university and less often the library in particular.
And so we have, by using it, repurposing it in this way, that we have, as you all can see and hear, that we have increased access to a lot of these rare, one-of-a-kind. And one of my favorites, of course, is photographs. Someone will find a daguerreotype of their great-great-great-grandfather with only holding, and they would not know it was there if it weren't for TopSCHOLAR or our other digital resources. So we have increased access, and then we've improved the efficiency of the library operations, because, as Todd said, we don't have to grab something every time it's there. And I believe that we have enhanced and improved research opportunities for not only students, but for everyone throughout the world. I try to tell the students, if they use special collections and use these materials, that is a place for original scholarship. And so they will be producing something that has not been done before. And all of that could come about, or has come about, through our repurposing of the digital repository.
And then we have a pretty picture of the cherry trees on campus. And my phone is dead. I don't know how much time is left, but we do have some time, I'm sure, for questions.
Actually, I have a lot of questions, but I think what you've done here is wonderful. I love it. So my first question is just asking for some advice on copyright issues. Like our special collections and archives has just piles of stuff that people have donated over the years that we have thought about digitizing and putting online, but we don't know who wrote it. Our legal team wants us to get a signed license agreement from everybody. And so we're not really sure whether or not we can. We don't know if that person's still alive. We don't know who their relatives are to get a signed agreement from. How do you handle materials like that where you don't really know where it came from? Do you just not digitize it, or what do you do?
Well, thankfully, there was still enough members of those boards that were doing the genealogical newsletters, so they were happy to give copyright information. We're very careful about books, but of course, but if it's a book from the 20s, we go ahead and do that sort of thing. We have simply started with those things that we know that are okay. But we do have to be very careful. We do sometimes run things through the university lawyer. But I know, I think Marshall talked this morning about things have changed since with Internet Archive now. They're attacking them. So it's even more, we have to be more and more careful.
Yeah, I know our archivist has reached out in some cases when there's been specific things that they wanted to share. So if they have a name or if they have a publisher or an address, they'll reach out and send correspondence, and then they'll wait 6 months or whatever, and then they'll put up a notice that says, we did our due diligence to contact potential owner of this property. If it belongs to you, please contact us and we'll take it down.
And that pretty well covers.
Or whatever you want, yeah. Or you can give us the rights, or we can take it down, yeah.
And so that, that I don't think we've ever had a problem.
No, we've had people ask us to take things down,
Yes.
but it's never been a legal problem.
Mhm. So, I don't know, I sort of err on the, they're probably dead and gone.
Any other questions?
You can continue.
You can continue. We can eat lunch together. You? Hey.
Wondering, did you get like any pushback when you were thinking about, hey, we want to repurpose this, we want to put some different things in this repository? And I also wanted to ask, are you still accepting like scholarly works if they do happen to come through? I realize that they're not coming through as much, but is that also still like focused, still something that's happening?
We still put up anything that is sent to us. We don't have a repository manager that's their only job anymore. So the solicitation and asking of fact, like I used to send faculty emails twice a year saying, have you published anything? We'd like to share it. So that part doesn't happen anymore. Just the student scholarship still happens. You want to take the other part?
You'll have to remind me of the question. I was paying
I was
attention.
just asking if there was like any
Pushback.
pushback when y'all decided to.
uh,
having,
I don't remember any. It was sort of sneaky. Oh, being recorded. I mean, I think it was just,
Gradual enough.
yes, that, it was just, and it just, but then when it happened, it began to be used. No, I don't remember any kind of pushback or saying, why are you wasting resources on those? I don't remember anything like that, but our department head that was doing it was so well, he'd been on campus almost 30 years. He was so well respected and people knew that he knew what he was doing. And he was loved in the community. And so I think that played a part in it, but no, I don't ever remember any kind of.
And the good thing about BPress, I think, the way we were able to do it so gradually was, you don't have to be real computer savvy to use it. You just learn how to upload things and hyperlinks, and there's not a lot of computer knowledge that you need to be able to add to this. Like the marriage records list is amazing. It's just 1,000 links or something, it's something that most people know how to do now. And librarians are specifically awesome at learning how to do these metadata related things and these other items.
Very easy.
You asked the
Sure.
word?
Sure.
These are, I guess my next question is about search engine optimization. When you are trying to describe, for example, a marriage record, and you've got thousands to describe, how do you kind of decide what to put in the metadata or what to leave out, given how much time you have, in order to get it to pop in a Google search?
I don't know what's in Jonathan's metadata for that
It's-
specific
There
record.
is one 400-page document that is an index to all of it. And so it would be just a name index. And so you put your name in, put their name in quotes in TopSCHOLAR, that marriage bond may pop up. So it is, as far as I know, I mean, other than the description and metadata of what is in that holding, it's individual names. And so if you put, John Smith in quotes and you put marriage, it's just gonna pop up. It populates it in that way
From Google or
From Google.
TopSCHOLAR?
from Google. So I recently, because there's over 8,000 of those, the metadata they used in them is going to be very, very minimal. It's just going to be the name and maybe the minister. But I recently did a newspaper called The Neighbor. It was about urban renewal and African American community, and it was from the 70s. And I had a student go through and abstract every article and list every person in that, because that would probably be the only it was newspaper. We only had about 8 issues. So it just depends on what I upload. But because that was so rare and important, she abstracted every word, every article for me. And those are included. Todd, is that put in keywords or there may be an abstract place for that. But so it just depends on how much time we have, but if it's something like that I feel is rare and useful for the students, then lots and lots of keywords and then abstracts of what's in a newspaper.
So you just kind of pick and choose?
Yes.
You don't try to do everything?
No.
Okay.
Looks like we're lucky with the marriage bonds. Jonathan didn't put any keywords in.
Oh.
So people just are searching Warren County marriage bonds or Barron County marriage bonds.
You're gonna find that will like
I know, I'm neither a repository person or a cataloger or an archivist or anything, but I know that, in our library, some folks are starting to look at, the value that AI could bring to some of this, in terms of, gathering the data from it, and then, there are ways that I can't say any more than this about, but if you could get the data, you can automate the creation
Of metadata.
So it's not all, manual for every.
and you can see that, of course, that's
Oh,
a
yeah, that's
digitized copy there. And they were able, they did take the time, of course, to pull out the family names and the county and then the date. But you can imagine a student having fun with that one.
Yeah. They
I-
both
I write like that and I still have to
mutually have
Consented to marry.
consented to marry. Yep.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for coming. I know this was about resource sharing with the community and students, not with each other at libraries. So it was a little bit different.
And if you all think of other questions,
Yeah, feel free to contact us. There is a slide.
we're easily discovered.
Yeah, I even went through and made these. Our names and our contact information. So find us, WKU Libraries. We're on the staff page.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day.
Thank you all so much.